On to the rest of chapter 16. Dr Bryce, how long did? Dr Bryce, when did you first? Dr Bryce, where did you? A tide of questions rushed towards us. Dr Bryce smiled. One at a time, please. Dr Bryce, how long was the operation? 12 hours. Dr Bryce, do you think it's ethically responsible to use the heart of a pig in a transplant operation? Our pigs are specially selected, genetically altered and bred. We've spent many years and millions of pounds in research, making sure that we are responsible. And if we hadn't performed the operation, then Cameron wouldn't be sitting here now. Dr Bryce answered easily. Ask the millions of people around the world who are dying of heart disease whether or not they think a heart transplants are a good idea. I'll let all those dying people do my talking for me. But we're not talking about hearts donated by the loved ones of those who have died. We're talking about taking the heart of a domestic animal and putting it into a human, another journalist stated. And if the heart works and prolongs life? Asked Dr Bryce. Is that your only consideration? Asked yet another journalist. As a doctor, it's my sworn duty to improve the quality of life. I'm not going to apologise for that. Don't you think you're behaving like Dr Frankenstein and creating monsters? Are you calling me a monster? I got in before Dr Bryce could. The woman who asked the question turned to me. I didn't mean to imply that you're a monster as such, but how do you feel knowing that a pig's heart is beating inside your body? It's just a heart, a muscle. It has nothing to do with what I am or how I think or behave or feel, I replied. Did Dr Bryce say that to you? Dr Bryce doesn't have to tell me what to say, I said annoyed. I've got a brain of my own and a mouth of my own. I'm not some kind of ventriloquist dummy with his hand up my jumper. Cameron! Mum nudged me and mouthed the warning. But Mum, they keep asking stupid questions, I protested. The only trouble was I'd forgotten about the microphone attached to my shirt and my voice boomed out around the studio. Sorry, I quickly mumbled. I bent my head, hoping and praying that this was just a dress rehearsal. Something told me that it wasn't, though. Cameron, how are you feeling? Fine, thank you. From now on, I'd keep my answers short and sweet. Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey, what do you say to all those people who will accuse you of allowing your son to be used as a guinea pig? Asked someone else. I looked down at my lap at this point, remembering that those were the exact same words Mum had used when Dad first told us about Dr. Bryce. Anyone who has a child who is ill with heart disease will know what all of us were going through, said Mum. Our son was very ill. He only had a few more months to live. This was a chance at life and he wanted to grab it with both hands. Neither his father nor I could or would stand in his way under those circumstances. Mrs. Kelsey, do you believe you did the right thing in allowing the operation to go forward? Yes, I do, Mum said at once. It's what Cameron wanted and that's all that mattered. And would you do the same again? Under the circumstances, yes, of course, Mum replied without hesitation. And you, Cameron, any regrets? No, I wouldn't be here now. I'd be at home lying in bed or reading or playing on the computer, just passing the time until there was no more time to pass. Do you feel any different, Cameron? No, not at all, just fitter. Will your son be ready to return to school, Mrs. Kelsey? Yes, on Monday. Do you consider him to be a normal boy now? How else would I consider him? Mum replied tersely. Cameron, what about friends? How are they taken to your new art? I haven't seen any of them since my operation, I admitted. Dr. Bryce, Dr. Elrich, Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey, Cameron. On and on they went until my head was buzzing with question after question. Mum, I whispered. Mum bent her head so that her ear was next to my mouth. Mum, I don't want to answer any more questions. I made sure my voice was no more than a murmur so that the microphone wouldn't pick it up. Are you tired? She asked, immediately concerned. After a moment's pause, I nodded. Excuse me, everyone, but my son is getting tired, so I'm afraid we'll have to leave now. Cameron, are you feeling ill? Just one more question. One more question, Cameron. A number of the reporters had risen to their feet now. The lights were making me feel hot and sick. I desperately wanted to leave. Mum stood up, a steely look on her face. I knew that look, and for once I was glad of it. Mum was leaving, and nothing and no one could stop her. Dad stood up and put his arm around her before helping her. Then me off the raised platform where we sat. I could hear the murmurs of disapproval and protest as we left the table. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eldritch and I will be more than happy to answer any further questions you may have, Dr. Bryce soothed. And I have a very important announcement to make. Today I can formally announce that my clinic's next xenotransplant will take place next week. Everyone was on their feet shouting at that, but I let it wash over me. The man who had ushered us to the table appeared to show us across the studio to the exit. As we walked past the chairs, I risked a glance at the reporters. It was feeding time at the zoo again. They were devouring me with their eyes. A man pushed forward and stuffed a white envelope into my hand. Another woman knocked over her chair in her effort to get to me. She handed me a large brown envelope. I frowned down at the letters in my hand. What was all this about? And then we were outside the studio. The air felt cooler. I leaned against the wall and took several relieved, deep breaths. Thank you for attending the press conference, the man with the headset shook Mum and Dad's hands. I'll just retrieve your mics. I unclipped the mic, pulled it out from under my shirt and handed it back to him. He smiled at me. You did very well, Cameron. I didn't answer. Anyway, take care and good luck to you all. Take the lift over there down to the ground floor. The receptionist will make sure that the car is here to take you home. Thanks, Dad said. Is that it, Dad? I asked. Do you think they'll leave us alone now? Mum and Dad looked at each other. Let's hope so, Cameron, Dad replied grimly. Let's hope so. Now, few questions then. One, will they leave him alone? What do you think? Based on things, your knowledge of life so far, and the media, and significant things, will leave Cam alone? When Cam asked that, why did Mum and Dad look at each other? What did that suggest? What can you infer from them looking at each other? My other question for you, they mentioned Cameron's school friends. If Cameron does return to school on Monday, how is that going to be? Aside from the Marlon issue, how do you think him returning to school will feel for him? Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I really enjoyed that. Another stonking chapter. And we'll come back tomorrow with chapter 17, which is called Offers. I don't know what offers means, but one thing I forgot to ask you. Why were they pushing envelopes into Cameron's hand? What could that be all about? Right? Well done on completing Wednesday. I hope you had a super day, and we'll catch up with this again tomorrow on Thursday. Sleep well. Bye-bye.